Good day. Welcome to my video about how sun affects die-cast models. Well, I've got three different models or toys here. I've got the Hobby Master up front here, the tiger striped yellow and black, which was originally an orange and black. And I've got an Aviation 72. It's also the same scale, 1 to 72. It has been exposed to approximately 3,000 hours equivalent of sunlight. And I've got a little toy here just for comparison. I do believe these guys also make scale models as well. This is Maisto, I believe. And I'm just going to compare how the sun affects them. The Maisto would have received about 4,000 hours equivalent of direct sunlight, which is about the same amount of hours as my Hobby Master here did. Now I'd like to take a quick look at the Hobby Master. No, it's not a shadow underneath the tail right there. It is a little darker there under the tail, if you can take a peek there. We'll do this. And let's go a little higher here. We'll look down on it so I don't really get any shadows. You would have noticed it was a little darker underneath the tail. That's because it was protected some by the up high stabilizer on the F104 from direct sunlight. Now, there's both plastic and metal die-cast showing here. The wingtip tanks are plastic. Do note they have faded significantly more than the metal portion of the wing right beside them or the fuselage. The yellow is almost gone from the plastic, whereas the fuselage and wing are still showing some yellow. The black doesn't look to be as much affected, probably because the light doesn't get into the pigment as much and fade the pigment from within. I'll come back to that model in a moment and show the underside of it, but right now I'd like to concentrate on the Aviation 72 here. There's not an awful lot to see here. It does have some bright colors which have not faded. At least I haven't noticed any noticeable fading except for maybe in the three spikes, the nose, and the two probes near the end of the wing. And there seems to be a little bit of a different color to me subjectively in the main wing tips and the stabilizer. It looks like the stabilizer may have faded slightly. But what's really significant here, let's take a look at the canopy. It's completely clouded. Less so, perhaps at the front of the canopy, where the sun wasn't. You can actually see there's a top of a seat sticking up there, a headrest. There's two of them. But that's all you can see. That happened rather quickly. I think that happened within started noticing it 6 weeks to 2 months after being displayed in the sun. That modeled, the Aviation 72, has accumulated approximately 3,000 hours of the equivalent direct sunlight in my northwest facing window over the years. Whereas the Hobby Master here, with over 4,000 to 4,500 hours of direct exposure equivalent, the canopy is still clear. Also, let's take a look at my Maisto over the other side, the toy, which is not to scale. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. You'll notice the canopy is fairly clear. I believe it was not completely clear when I got it. There may be a slight difference in it. It could be from me cleaning the dust off it on occasion. But it does not show any fading. It does not have colors on it that are usually noticeable for fading after at periods of time in sun exposure either. Now let's take a look at the bottom of this one just so you can compare. Does that look any darker or lighter than the top side? I'd say there's very little difference after 4,000 hours of being in the sun. It's not to scale though. Let's go back to the Aviation 72 here. I'm going to turn this one over as well. We're not going to see an awful lot of difference. Although the reds do look a little brighter on the back here, and the stabilizer and the main wing tip reds do look somewhat more similar than they do on the top side. As I was saying, I noticed a little bit of difference between the red subjectively. It may not show up too well on the camera here, but I'm going to pull out another Aviation 72 because, well, they do make some models that are to scale, and they're fairly fine scale here. I believe this is a chipmunk. And look at the roundels and the oranges. There's not a lot of color on this model. Just to get a reference of what kind of color is there, I'm going to flip it back over to the side that would have been exposed to sun for about 4,000 hours. Look at that! There's absolutely practically no red at all in the roundels. And the oranges don't look quite the same either. And we've got the same thing going on with the Canopy. Yeah, I don't know if you buy the premium models from Aviation 72, whether you would encounter the same thing with the Canopy, clouding over very quickly in the sun, like I say, 6 weeks to 2 months, and you actually notice a lot of clouding. Now, back to my main feature here. This is the first diecast model I ever got. And it also has very light color in the yellow, which will tend to fade rather quickly. I'm going to turn this one over. We'll take a look at the underside. I'll also provide a link to somebody who's got a YouTube about this exact model where they show unpackaging it. And you can see the color looks very much like around the main landing gear there, which would have been protected mostly from the sun. Do notice the plastic wingtip fuel tanks. Even the underside of them has lost most of the yellow color, if not all. And you can see there's fading as the amount of sun would have bounced around and even hit the tail portion of my Hobby Master HA1005. Do notice underneath the wings is a little more yellow. Now this model was in the sun for, like I say, up to 4,500 hours equivalent of direct sunlight. So if you've got a collection of your own and worried about being in the sun, yeah, it's definitely a concern. I hope you learn to take care of yours better than I took care of the first one of mine. That's all for now.